What's up, guys? It's Jonathan with One Big Impact. I really wish I could touch that thing up there. I'm going to turn it off so you guys can hear me better. So, kind of quick, kind of not. Scan this up so I don't have to edit out my shirt. Hopefully, everything can catch that. First of all, drink your damn water. Second of all, I do not like sour stuff, but let me tell you, lemon water, like I get, the last couple days I've gotten a big lemon because I'm eating a lot of food for bulking and stuff, so my stomach's just it's too much food. You think you like food until it has to be like, 3,100 calories of nonsense, and you still got to go up. It's not 3,100 calories of Reese's peanut butter cups, let's say that. But I've been putting a full lemon in here, and depending on how I feel, maybe like a sweet and low packet or something. And lemon is actually like one of the most refreshing tastes I've ever tasted in my life. After tasting it for the last 2 days, I'm like, okay, so I'm slightly addicted. Aids with digestion, aids with the acidity in your stomach. There's so many things. I posted something the other day. It's really amazing that I've always kind of shunned it. So remain open-minded. Today's video is actually going to focus on, and I'm not trying to say that I'm by far not the best parent ever. I took a lot of parenting classes, about 4 years. I didn't learn a damn thing from them. What I'm about to tell you is what I believe, and I believe it's something, a core value of something in which many families should practice. And the reason I say that is because I've been a victim of this type of situation before, and I think it's really important that you don't project your children to this type of an environment. And if you do it, so be it, whatever. I'm not saying you're wrong or anything. If you want to stop the video because you think I'm trying to teach you something, or if I'm trying to tell you which way to be a parent, I'm not. I don't really care how you're being a parent. Just be good to your kids and love them and do your own thing. But I will say, I notice this a lot, and I notice this a lot in different types of families, and um, it's not to say it's wrong necessarily, but I feel that you should definitely go about this a different way. And it's, speaking of which, like families are split up, separated. Maybe the mother went one way, the father went one way, and maybe the kids are like half and half. Maybe their kids are with the dad, maybe the kids with their mom. Um, Whichever way the custody ended up happening, you have to be really careful with your children. First of all, if your children see, and I've done the blended family thing, and I probably failed miserably at the blended family thing. But although what I'm about to talk about, I feel that I excel in this department. It's talking poorly about the other parent. Now, am I saying you need to praise them in front of your children if a person, say, for instance, you guys know I took custody of my kids. I'm not going to blurt out on the internet or talk bad upon that person. But I took custody of them when they were really, really young, and I had sole custody for pretty much their whole lives. One's 17, lives with me. The other one's not living with me, and many of you know what's going on with that. Um, and he's 19, almost 20. So I took him a long time ago, and one thing I've never done is talk poorly upon the individual in which I took my children from. And the reason I didn't do that is, well, there's a couple reasons. First of all, um, if you talk poorly about, and I would say for probably like 13 years, many, many years, she was not really a part of their life. And so it wasn't like they had grown a bond with her. But I knew someday they may. There was a definite possibility that maybe she would live a different lifestyle, or they would go seek her out or whatever. And I didn't want to talk poorly upon her regardless of her life choices or anything, because first of all, if my kids did eventually develop a relationship with her, um, me talking bad, excuse me talking bad about somebody that they love or potentially will love would be really poor of me, first of all. Now, that type of situation can be completely different and much more serious if you have a mother, father, and both are in the picture. Say you share custody and they go from one house to the other and stuff like that on a regular basis. You need to be really careful about the things you say. Not only because of the tension that it's going to cause between the whole thing, but children know when there's a weak link. And if they're that weak link, or they understand that your hatred for each other is a weak link, kids are not dumb. Kids are not dumb. I would venture to say by age like, and it depends on the kids, it depends on maturity, it depends on whatever, but early teens, kids know how to manipulate situations. And kids are going to see if you are constantly fighting with each other and stuff and talking mess back and forth. They're going to be like, how can I manipulate this situation? They can go, well, mom lets me do this. And then you'd be like, you can do whatever you want. You can do anything you want. Well, mom lets you do that. Guess what? We're going to do this. And you guys start trying to outdo each other, outdo each other, outdo each other. And, or you try to outcool each other, out benefit the child. You try to spoil them more than the other one did. No, don't do this. My kid's mom would come around and buy, try to make up for lost time and buy them $200 pair of Nikes. I've never bought myself a $200 pair of Nikes. I can't. Okay? So my kids would see me, when they were teens and stuff, just getting into teens, they're like, that person's back in my life, and they're buying me this, and they're buying me that. They love me, this and that, and this. You have to let children, and this goes for anybody in life, you have to let them run their own path, their own course. You don't get involved with that. You don't get involved with the games of just continue to love your child. Continue to love your kid. And, if they're talking bad about their, and say they get mad or whatever, don't be like, yeah, screw them, blah, 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 blah. Because next week, when they're not mad at their dad or they're not mad at their mom, guess what's going to come out when they're pissed off at you over there? It's going to be a constant cycle, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You can't control what the other parent's doing. We know that. And that's fine. And they might be rotten. They might not be. It could be just because they could be really good people. It just didn't work between you two. Now, when you have kids with somebody, you don't always plan the perfect person to have a kid with, right? I mean, we know that's reality. But the thing that you have to remember is, unfortunately, you will have that person in your life for a very long time. And whether or not it's in your immediate life, constantly in your face, because it doesn't really have to be. You can take steps around it. You can find a mediator and stuff like that if you don't like the situation, which I do. I'll be honest. Don't ever catch yourself saying bad things about the other parent. Don't ever catch it, even if they're not in the situation. I'll be honest, my kids have come to me with complaints and yelling and screaming and stuff like that. And regardless of how I feel personally, maybe I'll talk to my boys about it when no kids are around and stuff like that, or whatever. Maybe I'm upset, or not upset now, but maybe, I have things to say. They're not said in front of kids. They're not said in front of my kids, because you can't do that. You can't bring your children into this, because regardless if they're in their lives or not, they will eventually probably bond with that person. Or even if they don't bond with them, that's their mom or that's their dad, and you don't want to piss kids off. Because they are your kids and you do love them and you want to make sure you get the most. And even if it has to just be a wall between that situation and you, don't bring them up. Don't bring up, even if your kids say, you know what, this pisses me off about this person, say, okay, you know what, you just need to make sure you respect that person and stuff like that. This person is an adult. This person is a potential authority figure to you, and I'm sorry, but, and you're not necessarily siding, you're just saying, you know what, I don't have anything negative to say about the situation, And it's really important that you don't, because if you constantly drag that down or whatever, the kids are going to see that. The kids are going to find, something to dig up under you and stuff. And here's the thing. Here's the big kicker, okay? If you teach your kid, and you can do this, you can definitely do this. For instance, like if you teach your kid to be racist, and you're racist and you force racism upon your kid and stuff like that. I'll get to the point. Hold on, bear with me. Eventually, your daughter or your son will probably go date somebody of the opposite race. Why? Because it's macabre to you. You forced them to do something they didn't want to against their own will. Okay? It's kind of like saying, I force you to behave. You can't force anybody to behave. You can't force anybody to love a certain sex. You can't force anybody to learn to love a certain race, religion, ethnicity, culture, whatever. You can't do that. Like, they are unique. Your children are unique. Your children's parents are completely also unique. You are also unique. And nobody's going to force you. Nobody needs to force your children to feel a certain way about the opposite parent. Because here's what happens. Just like there's rebellion on all the other things that I talked about, if you do succeed somehow, magically, and you may, and it's not that much magic, let's be honest, you could probably pretty easily make your child hate the other parent. That's not good. That's not good for a few reasons, okay? Because if I initially make my child hate my parent, they hate the other parent, then eventually they will turn back and they'll hate me because it's my fault they hate their parent. Now, here's the problem. I am not saying I want anybody to hate their parents or your kids to hate their other parent or anything like that. But I'm saying by pushing that on them and saying, I want you to hate that person, and then when it gets back and flips in your face, it could potentially be a non-loving fake relationship that could get your child more hurt than initially was probably going to happen in the first place, because they could find out on their own. They could find out, oh, okay, my parents a loser, and they could find out themselves. But if you try to push that on them, I can almost guarantee you they will push back and go all up in that situation. They'll go love that person and this and that and that and this. And then when they come back and they finally realize who the jackass is, maybe not you, it's not going to matter. And regardless, you were the reason that they hated their parents, and they're not going to. And they will never really get an idea of how to feel about that situation on their own, based on their own feelings. Don't ever try to tell your kids that they should or shouldn't love somebody, that they should or shouldn't do. Obviously, if a situation's not safe, keep your children safe. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is just be careful about what you say about the other parents in front of your children, because in the end of scheme of things, maybe you pass away or something, and later they have to live with that person, and you really want it to be their own opinion, their own love, because let's be honest, maybe you don't like the other parent, maybe you hate them, maybe you got a divorce, maybe you guys just cannot stand to be in the same freaking city because you make yourself gag, like it's that bad, like it's like it makes you cringe. But remember, your kid's not you. Your kid will never be you. And that is okay. It is okay for a situation to be like that. It's just like having a boss. Have you ever had a boss and you got along with your boss, but everybody else hates your boss? Or you didn't get along with your boss and everybody else loved your boss? It's the same thing. Not everybody's always going to be compatible with each other, and that's okay. It's perfectly okay for you not to like your ex-partner, but your children to adore them. There's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, if they're teaching them bad things or they come home with behaviors that are, to least, very questionable or whatever, of course, there's some things that you can do, or document those quietly and stuff like that. Don't bring your child into it. The child should not be part of like a battle or anything going back and forth, because remember, your children only get one chance at childhood. Make sure it's just a childhood. Don't make it a fight between you and the other parent and always bringing the kids in the middle, because remember, please remember that kids are very sensitive to these type of things, and it's really important. I've done my fair share of bad parenting. Like I'm not pretending that I'm like some above the wall parent, but I see this happen a lot. I'm just mentioning it because just because you don't get along with somebody doesn't mean your kids can't. They can have their own views, and that doesn't mean that they love you any less. Children have enough love in their heart for you as a parent, as a mother or father, and as the opposite mother or father. It's really important that you don't think that they're ever, picking sides or picking favorites or anything. It's not like that. Don't ever put that stigma on your child, because your child should have the option to love or not love whoever they want, and please leave that up to them. So don't ever talk bad about the other parent, even though you want to. Leave that for when you go drinking with the dudes or go partying with the girls. Talk all the trash you want, but don't bring your kids into it, man, because it's their life. Have a beautiful day, guys. Be stronger than your excuses. Remember to spread love, not hate. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.